Hello and welcome to Volcano Watch, coming to you from the Philippines. Earlier today we spoke to Rose from the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology. She told us about Mount Pinatubo, which is due to erupt imminently and is 90 kilometers away from Manila in the Philippines.
Hi Rose, what processes are occurring underneath the volcano that are creating the activity we are seeing?
Hi Katie, thanks for having me. Currently the Philippine plate is being subducted beneath the Eurasian plate. The Philippine plate is then melted due to high pressure turning into magma. It has a lower density than the surrounding rock, so gets pushed up and forms a volcano. At Mount Pinatubo, the lava dome is expected to increase the number of earthquakes. Scientists believe that there's a high risk of the volcano erupting.
What do you mean by risk?
The definition of risk is the combination of the probability of an event and its negative consequences. We can expect there to be eruption in the next month, so evacuation plans are already underway.
What processes are producing the steam we are seeing?
Groundwater is heated by the rising magma from the mantle, and this is creating the steam we can see from San Jose City, northeast of the volcano.
So what do you think the potential hazards and risks?
We've interrupted your regular programming to bring you this breaking news. Mount Pinatubo has erupted for the first time in 600 years following the minor activity that has been ongoing for the last 2 months. At this point, it is thought to have erupted as a result of the magnitude 7.8 earthquake a year prior to this.
Clouds of hot ash and gas called pyroclastic flows have been seen all around the island. We have received no reports of fatalities yet, with the ash cloud predicted to continue in a southerly direction. Lahars are expected due to the rainwater from Typhoon Miah mixing with the ash produced, and emergency preparations are underway.
We have previously seen an eruption like this beforehand with Mount St. Helens, where they had minor earthquakes before. Experts noticed the volcano changing in shape and creating a bulge on the north flank of the mountain. The bulge gave way and there was a huge pyroclastic flow that travelled at 300 kilometres an hour and devastated an area of 300 square kilometres. They had evacuated people from the surrounding area prior to the eruption, which reduced the death toll.
The ash cloud of Mount St. Helens blocked out sunlight and 15 centimetres of ash fell on the surrounding area, which caused damage to crops and farming machinery. This ash cloud was carried around the world by the jet stream, and experts think that Mount Pinatubo may do the same. Additionally, there was snow on top of the volcano, so as magma reached the surface and started to explode, the snow melted, creating lahars, which reached the Columbia River, 80 kilometres south of the volcano.
We are currently advising people within the immediate area to stay indoors, close windows and doors and use goggles and masks if you go outside.
We will bring you more information as we receive it.
Welcome to the 10th anniversary of the Mount Pinatubo eruption. Today we are going to look at the immediate responses and development planning policies created to reduce the Philippines' vulnerability to the hazards of future eruptions.
Evacuation. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology declared the 6-mile radius danger zone around the volcano. About 20,000 in population had been safely evacuated before the eruption. Also, more than 15,000 American servicemen and their dependents had evacuated from Clark Air Base before the eruption.
In 2009, the UNISDR defined the following terms related to disaster. First is disaster, defined as a serious disruption of the functioning of a community or a society involving widespread human, material, economic or environmental losses and impacts, which exceeds the ability of the affected community or society to cope using its own resources. Second is hazard, defined as a dangerous phenomenon, substance, human activity or condition that may cause loss of life, injury or other social, economic or environmental damage. Third is risk, defined as the combination of the probability of an event and its negative consequences. Fourth is vulnerability, defined as the characteristics and circumstances of a community, system or asset that make it susceptible to the damaging effects of a hazard.
Laws, policies, and organization. In June 1991, President Corazon Aquino had created the Presidential Task Force on the rehabilitation of areas affected by the eruption of Mount Pinatubo. It was mandated to guide and coordinate all rehabilitation efforts of the government, including those participated in by the private sector and the international community. After a year, in 1992, the Mount Pinatubo Assistance, Resettlement and Development Commission succeeded the task force by virtue of a law. Specifically, the Commission was tasked to provide additional funds for the immediate relief of victims, establish resettlement centers and home sites, provide livelihood and employment opportunities, repair, reconstruct, or replace infrastructure damaged or destroyed, and construct new infrastructure facilities needed by the affected communities.
Immediate response to the eruption. The government mobilized facilities such as hospitals and schools, and personnel including medical workers and teachers to provide necessary basic services. The Department of Social Welfare and Development was in the forefront of providing emergency relief assistance to displaced families and victims. The Department of Health led the provision of medical care and public health services. Aid. The USA gave $300,000 in cash for housing and resettlement. The UK gave $79,787 in cash for construction of typhoon-resistant houses, and also $39,000 worth of medicines, food, and shelter material. UNICEF gave $150,000 in cash. The World Health Organization gave $10,000 worth of emergency health kits. The World Food Programme gave $50,000 worth of food items and $1,088,500 worth of food for 125,000 beneficiaries for 60 days. The Philippine Red Cross provided immediate welfare such as food, housing and clothing, and the Philippine government set up temporary shelters and relocated 200,000 people to safer areas.
Significance of international assistance. Most of the foreign assistance for rehabilitation and reconstruction came in the form of grants, loans, and technical assistance packages. Among the countries that had extended assistance including Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Israel, Japan, Netherlands, United Kingdom, and USA World Bank and Asian Development Bank had also extended support and loan facilities.
The Philippine government developed specific strategies, programs, and projects to address the issues of the most concern. It established programs for the following: resettlements for the Itis Highlanders worth $7 million and resettlements for the Itis Lowlanders worth $34 million. Livelihood programs focus on rebuilding agriculture and industry, for example the Agricultural Development Program worth $12 million and the Deep Sea Fishing Program worth $1 million. Infrastructure rehabilitation and reconstruction, for example the River Systems Rehabilitation and Improvement Project, worth $58 million.
Lessons learned from a disaster. The establishment of a truly efficient and effective coordinating body or organizational function at the international level may only be achieved through a process of consultation and consensus building among the critical stakeholders, including government, decision makers, national focal points, donor agencies, international organizations, and non-governmental organizations.
Thank you for watching.
Hello and welcome back to Volcano Watch. Some of you may remember 25 years ago we reported on the cataclysmic eruption of Mount Pinatubo in 1991. Whereas we have relocated to lovely Coventry, Rose from the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology is still there. We visited her earlier in the year and she told us about the long-term effects the eruption had on our climate.
Hi Rose, it's good to have you back. How did the eruption affect the population of the Philippines?
There were 350 deaths from collapsing roofs, but the total rose to 800 due to the secondary impacts like diseases from contaminated water, lahars and mud flows. The lahars continued for years after due to the settled ash on the slopes. Roads were damaged and they lost electricity and telephones.
There were many reports of deaths from the Atis tribe.
Yes, many of the deaths in the evacuation camps were from the Atis tribe. They lived on the volcano slopes and refused to leave when told to. They became very susceptible to diseases like measles and refused to take the medicine needed. Many of the tribe became malnourished due to the unfamiliar diets, which caused 94% of the Atis tribe children to die in the camps.
Were there any effects on the environment and people's livelihoods?
Unfortunately, the ash mixed with rainfall from Typhoon Yunga, so 80,000 hectares of farmland were covered in ash, which disrupted the livelihoods of 50,000 farmers, and next year's harvest was completely destroyed.
Did the eruption have any impacts on the economy?
The economic losses were estimated at 700 million, with 2 million people being affected by the volcano.
Did the eruption have any lasting effects on our climate?
The eruption cooled the oceans and reduced the amount of water stored over land and in the atmosphere. The ash was deposited into the stratosphere, which blocked out sunlight. In turn, this reduced the surface temperatures and reduced the amount of moisture stored within the water vapour. As the moisture reduced, the amount of rainfall globally decreased.
How long was the ash in the atmosphere for?
The eruption released 20 million tonnes of sulphur dioxide 12 miles high into the atmosphere, which combined with oxygen to form sulphuric aerosols, which can stay in the atmosphere for years after an eruption. In this case, the aerosol cloud circled the globe for 3 weeks after the eruption, and the aerosol particles were still found to be present in the stratosphere 4 years after the initial eruption. No clouds form in the stratosphere, meaning the aerosol particles linger and deflect incoming solar radiation, leading to global cooling. Over the 15 months succeeding the eruption, scientists recorded a 0.6 degree fall in average global temperatures.
Will this temperature drop have any lasting effects?
Along with the cooling effect volcanic eruptions have on average global temperatures, eruptions produce huge amounts of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide, which contribute to global warming, counterbalancing the global cooling effect. So the rates of global cooling will be superseded by the effects of global warming.
Although the eruption occurred 25 years ago, the people of the Iotas tribe are still struggling to get back to normality. The Entrepreneur Volunteer Assistance Scheme aims to help Iatian people conserve their indigenous culture while sustainably developing a new foundation for their communities and families through school building, educational scholarships and literacy initiatives. You can help this vital aid programme by donating to the web address www.evacf.org or by following the link to our website. Another way you can help is by purchasing EVA's beautiful handcrafted pottery, which is the main source of income support for the organisation. These items are available to purchase from our website, with 100% of the proceeds going to charity. That's almost it from us. On next week's programme, we look at the 2011 eruption of Eyjafjallajökull and the impact it had on European airspace. Thanks for watching.